Hello everyone and welcome to One Card Wonder Wednesday. I hope you are all having a fantastic day. I'm going to get on here and share my video so that everyone who wants to see it can see it. I try to share it with a couple of different groups. My Stampin' with Valerie VIP, of course, and then I also share it with my Stampin' with Valerie classes and with my team page. So today we're going to use the Peace and Joy stamp set, but I have combined it with several different things. So I'm just going to quickly show you everything that I combined today's card with. I did the bundle. I've finally got the dies for this, so I used the dies. They're called the Joy dies. And then I used some of these North Pole dies. I love, these are going to be my new favorite Christmas dies, I think, just because I love the tag and I love this stitched Starburst circle. It's just, love this set. I also used the rectangle stitch dies for one of my pieces, and I think I did. Oh wait, no I didn't. I did not use the rectangle stitch dies. I apologize. I used the stitched shapes dies for one of my circles. Totally my mouth can't function with my brain apparently. All right, so this is what we use. So I'm going to set that aside and show you the card. What do you think of this card? Now, I have been in the mood all week for working on Christmas cards, so I thought this would be the perfect time to pull out all the stops and make a gorgeous Christmas card with lots of little, as I call it, fluff. So this is the card we're going to make. How fun is that? All right, so we're going to use 2 inks today, Real Red and Pear Pizzazz. That's it, just red and green. Got a little leaf here from another project I'm working on. So to start with, you've got a Whisper White card base. Just go ahead and fold that in half. And then I started, look, I have all these pieces. And for some reason, when I was putting this card together, I went ahead and adhered these 2 pieces together, but I have a piece of Real Red cardstock that is, let me give you the measurement, 3.5 by 4 3/4. So the basic gray is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. Now that basic gray piece, I ran through an embossing folder. This is one of the Wrapped in Texture embossing folders. So I ran that piece of basic gray through that to give it those lovely little polka dots. So let's go ahead and just adhere this to the card. Go ahead and use whatever adhesive you want. If you're gonna make one of these, you can use glue, you can use a tape runner like the Stampin' Seal or the Stampin' Seal Plus, or if you have tear and tape that you like to use whatever you prefer. That's just what I like to use, is the Stampin' Seal or the Stampin' Seal Plus. Hi Anne, how are you? Thanks for joining. The next step was die cutting this tag. Now this is the tag that was in those North Pole dies. And what I did after I die cut the tag is I placed it in the Evergreen 3D folder, kind of up here in the corner. So I would have some background that was plain, but then I would have those trees on there because I loved those trees. But I didn't want the whole thing. I didn't want to put it down here and then you just get all that background. You don't get the top of the trees for the tag, so you don't get quite as much detail, I guess, that way. And I kind of wanted this to have that little bit of detail with trees and then flat areas. So that was with the Evergreen 3D. Now, next what I did on this, instead of using ribbon, I had some little die cut pieces of Designer Series paper. And now this paper that I used on this is from the Most Wonderful Time, and I've got it all in a bag here, product medley. We sold this last year. These are my leftovers from last year, and I cannot tell you how many projects I've made with this Designer Series paper already. But we're selling the medley again this year. It comes with the paper, with dies, a stamp set, all kinds of good things. The cardstock stickers, all kinds of good stuff. So what I did is I just cut a little piece of some of that designer series paper. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick, might be even a little bit thinner than that. And I just cut it in two little strips, and I just stapled it to the top of that tag. Now, this is kind of, instead of putting ribbon on it, I thought this would be kind of a fun idea just to use some more of that designer series paper, because I love designer series paper. And I guess I didn't get it stapled real tight this time. That's all right. We're going to add a couple of stickers to this. In that pack, the Most Wonderful Time medley, you get, look at all these stickers. You have used so many of them, but I still have so many left. But you get these fantastic holly stickers, and I used those at the top of this tag just to add a little bit to that. So I stuck one on the left, and then I'm going to stick one on the right as well. So if you like being able to have all these little accents, this set is great for obviously card making, but it's also fantastic for scrapbooking and different things like that, because you have all those extra little things to go with it. So if you don't have the Most Wonderful Time medley, that is something I highly recommend. Hi Donna, hi Lois, how are you? Thank you for joining. So for the bottom of your tag, just add a little bit of adhesive, but then at the top, we're gonna add dimensionals. And that's gonna give it just a little bit different look on the card. Instead of having the whole thing raised up, it's just gonna be the top, and then we're just gonna have that little piece on the bottom. Hi Meg, how are you? I hope everyone's ready for this crazy storm that's coming your way. My friend Meg lives in Louisiana, and so they are prepping for all of this storm stuff. Laura is going to not be good for Texas and Louisiana, that is for sure. All right, so for the next step, go ahead and you have a die cut a circle. You probably don't have one because this is a brand new video. Die cut a circle also from, I used the same paper that I used up here because I figured that way it gives it a little bit more red and gold on the card, which is fantastic. Gives it a little bit of sparkle, but not too much. But I love it anyway. And then I die cut with those North Pole dies. This is Smoky Slate, and this is just a piece of vellum. Now, if you look at that vellum, it's got the scalloped edge, but it also has stitching. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna try to hold it closer so maybe you can see it. It has stitching around the edge, which is one of my favorite things in dies. If they have stitching, I'm buying the dies. It's just, I'm addicted to that stitching. So I buy them, even if I probably don't necessarily need them. And then of course, another one of those North Pole dies, cut out this little tag, and on the card, you're not gonna see that little hole in the tag because we're gonna cover that up with our sentiment. But that's gonna go right here, but we're not gonna put that on there yet until after we put together our sentiment, which is just peace, and then we're gonna stamp on earth, on earth in real red, and we're gonna stick it to the bottom of this sentiment here. That piece on the E doesn't want to come out. There we go. All right, now this I cut not with just plain gold foil, but that's that metallic brushed gold foil. And I'll be honest with you, it would have been just fine with the plain gold foil as well, because it's so thin you don't get to see that brushed effect on there. So just beware, if you're going to be cutting the smaller things, you can use just the regular gold foil. You don't have to worry about using that brushed metallic foil. Oh, thank you, Sharon. This was just one that I came up with today because I have just, like I said, been in the mood to make Christmas cards and to get a jump start on my Christmas card making for this year, because I feel like if I don't start now, I'm going to be rushed at the end and I'm not going to make very many cards. And I mean, when you make cards for a living and you don't send out homemade cards, people are kind of like, what's going on there? Why didn't she send me a homemade card? And it's usually just because I get so busy with everything else, I don't always have time. But I try. And I will say the last few years I've been very good. Homemade cards every year. All right, so basically that Tombow glue, just to glue those 3 layers together. Now these dies were the Joy dies that go along with the Peace and Joy stamp set. So isn't that great? I love that. So take your Peace and Joy, just put a little bit of glue at the bottom there. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to kind of hold this together. So you're going to layer those 2 pieces. Then once you've got them layered, then you can add your dimensionals on the back, and that will help hold it together, as long as you put one on each side of that vellum, just to kind of hold that on there. And it'll take a couple of extra dimensionals just doing it that way, but that way it stays and you're not using a ton of adhesive on it. Because anywhere you can save on adhesive, do it, because adhesive, I think, is one of the most expensive parts of card making, because you have to buy stuff that's going to work, stuff that's going to hold. And if you don't buy quality stuff, you know it when you're making cards. If it's not good adhesive, you can tell right away. All right, so next, just add your sentiment on here. And now, honestly, that's actually just kind of cute like that. But we got to add our On Earth. So we're going to use the Real Red. And that On Earth stamp is kind of one of those solid images where the letters don't stamp, but everything around the letters stamp. So I like to try and stamp those at the bottom of a piece, a little strip of paper, because I usually cut them out. And that's nothing different with this card. I cut it out. So just fussy cut that out, and it's a really skinny little strip. So you could use dimensionals on it. You'd have to do little pieces, obviously, or use the mini dimensionals, and even those you may have to cut in half because this is really quite skinny. But instead, for this, I just used some Tombow glue just to alleviate the pain of cutting dimensionals in half, so to speak. All right, let me make sure I get that on there even before I let it dry. Then take another little small piece of scrap paper. Doesn't have to be big or huge by any means, because we're just going to stamp some holly and berries. So we'll just stamp those berries in the Real Red, and then in Pear Pizzazz, stamp your holly leaves. I'm going to stamp that one more time just to get them a little darker. There. They both look good, but this one's just a little bit more filled in. And then you're going to fussy cut those out. Sharon, yes, I will show the dies at the end that I used for this, because I used a couple of different sets of dies. So you're just going to take those and fussy cut them out. And of course, by the magic of video, I already have some fussy cut out that I did earlier. Now you can add more than one set on here if you want. I just did the one set because I thought it was plenty, because we got all this other fluff that we're going to add to it. These are from the North Pole dies. North Pole Wonder, I think is what they're called. Glue dots. So the easiest way to get all of this put together, I thought, was glue dots. I just stuck 2 of the holly leaves right on here, on that one glue dot. And then I went to a second glue dot and stuck those little berries. And then I stuck them together. So the berries have just a little bit of dimension above the leaves. Not much, but just a little bit. A glue dot worth of dimension, basically. Get those on there. Decide which pieces that you want to use. I cut a bunch of these because I'm always going to use them for something. And then I just kind of layered them in wherever I could get them to layer in. I was going to use a glue dot, but I didn't use glue dots for this. I just used a little bit of glue on those leaves. And then just kind of push it down just so the leaf will stick. The little leaf sprigs. Now, because my dimensionals are a little bit different on the back of this one than they were on the first one, hopefully I can get all these little sprigs to stick in here, because I want to do one of each color. A white one, a gold one, a red one. And they don't all have to be, because there are longer and shorter ones. You don't have to do all long ones. You don't have to do all short ones. You can just kind of do a little of each. Just kind of figure out where you want to stick them before you put glue on them and stick them down. And if you're kind of intertwining them, lift one up, stick the other one kind of in there, then glue it down. So it makes it a little bit easier. And then this other little white one, we're just going to add in right there. And because I can't get that stem to go in, guess what? All we're going to do is cut that little stem off. No shame in our game. We'll just do that. Put it in there. And it's not going to look exactly the same as this one. Now you can, try to get them all exactly the same, but I don't even worry about that. I just try to put them in there. I've got that little stem will not get off my finger. All right, a little bit of glue on this. You can lift that little circle up just a little bit to start getting your little pieces in on the bottom. Yes, Donna, I agree. I think it could be made with another sentiment and it would be just as pretty. You don't necessarily have to have this set. But if you do, you could do it really similar. I think I used all shorter ones on this bottom piece just because I didn't want them having to cut them off because they're a little closer to the bottom of the card. Well, maybe we'll use a long white one on this one. We'll see. Let's see what it looks like. That's a little too big. We'll still go with the shorter one. That out just a little bit so it looks like it's a little bit longer than the other ones. All right, now I did not add any other bling to this other than this gold foil paper and the gold foil that is printed on this paper. But what I did add were some of these gorgeous little stars. And these are, like I said, from that Most Wonderful Time medley that was in the catalog last year and is in the catalog this year. I love these little rustic stars. Hi, Roger. Sure, you want these to be one of your Christmas cards? I can make you some of these. I've been employed by Roger this year to make some Christmas cards for him. So yeah, if you like these ones, I'll make these ones. I love these ones. They're fun to make. And I have all the supplies, so it would be perfect. The only thing I don't think I have is I don't have any more of this paper. I'd have to substitute this paper, Roger. But there, that is tonight's One Card Wonder Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed it. And I know it's only August, but I am really in the Christmas mood, so I had to get started on getting some Christmas cards made. So I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you again next time for One Card Wonder Wednesday. Bye!